What's going on, everybody? Today I'll be going over how you can essentially stay up to date with the Honkai Star Rail endgame and the meta forever. Now, first things first, and this is gonna piss off a lot of people, the whole waifu over meta thing is just not gonna work. If you're skipping characters like the Herna, Aventurine, Firefly to pull for your waifus, like for example, like this is really extreme, but like Silverwolf, Jingliu, Dr. Ratio, you're gonna fall behind on the meta unless you perfectly speed tune these old units and give them like the eagle sets, doing all of this nonsense, or going for eidolons on them and their light cones. You're not gonna be able to make them work. You can make old DPS, old like general old characters work. It's not that they're power crept to oblivion, it's just it takes so much to make them work, to the point where it's way less effort to just play the game normally and amount enough stellar jades to actually pull for the meta units. Now, with that being said though, let's talk about which characters you should actually pull for, and I'll be splitting this up by, DPSs, supports, sustain, all that. So let's start off with the DPS units. Now, people say that the power creep in Honkai Star Rail is extreme, it's terrible, it's so imposing. It's not. And I can make a whole video about that, but a lot of people will blame anything on power creep, even if it's just straight up not power creep. They'll have a bad team comp and then they'll blame it on power creep. You get what I mean, right? So when it comes to DPS, DPSs are the only units that get power cap, by the way, and I'll talk about that once I move on to the Harmony units. But for DPS units, you want the top 2 DPS units in the game all the time. You always want to have the top 2 DPSs in the game, and if you want to know how you can always have the top 2 DPSs in the game, one thing you can do is take a look at leaks. I get that not everybody looks at leaks, but leaks are for specifically like character kit leaks are a great way to know if a character is going to be good or if they're not going to be good, because then it's not just you evaluating the character's kit, it's the community as a whole taking a look at that character's kit and deciding if it's going to be good or if it's not going to be good. And typically the community collectively will come to the same like general consensus. For example, Casters we know is going to be meta defining, and when she comes out, she's going to be meta defining, right? So take a look at character kits, their leaks, all of that stuff, and prepare in advance. If, for example, we're in 3.1, right? So if we know that Casters is coming in 3.2, the first half specifically, and we know that she's going to be an insane DPS. So what should we do to prepare for Casters? We skip Mighty. We can always pull for him later. The first character rerun for any character usually comes not too long after their initial banner. So we skip Mighty, and we especially skip Huo. Say it with me. We skip Huo. We are not pulling for Huo. We're not pulling for Huo in this day and age. She's not bad. The problem is you just don't need her. For sustain, the only character you need is Aventurine. The other sustain can be literally any 4-star abundance, and you'll be okay, honestly. Gallagher, and you'll be just fine. Gallagher especially. But like I was saying, prepare in advance. We know that Casters is going to be better than Mighty, so what we need to do is we skip Mighty in preparation for Casters, and if we're already caught up with the endgame by the time that Mighty gets a rerun, then we can safely pull for him. We can pull for him comfortably and still not fall behind too much. Mighty isn't even that bad. It's just that we know that Casters are going to be better at this point. So why waste our pulls right before the next best DPS comes out? And that's kind of what I did, right? That's what I did with the Herna and Phase Xiao. I wanted to go all in on 3.0 since I know there's multiple banners. I wanted Linksha, I wanted Herna, and I wanted Phase Xiao. So what I did, I skipped all of 2.7. I don't have Sunday on my account. I don't have Fugo on my account as somebody who owns Firefly. And I pulled in 3.0 as a free-to-play player. As a complete 100% free-to-play, I pulled in 3.0, and now, as of right now, I can still comfortably clear all the endgame just fine. I've been able to for months now. It's been months since I fell behind. And the reason why is because I skipped 2.7. Now, you might be thinking that my account is already far behind because I missed out on Sunday, and here's where we get to the Harmony section of this video. I don't have Sunday, correct? But I also don't have Ramen or Tribi. What that means is the only 2 limited 5-star harmonies I have is Sparkle and Ren Mei. And people claim that they got power crept, but in reality, they just didn't. A lot of people make the mistake of pulling for characters that, well, yes, they are meta, but you just don't need them. You simply you don't need them. Tribi is good. Tribi will change anybody's account that pulls her, but not everybody needs her. I still do not need to replace any of the harmonies on my account. 2 is just fine. You want a minimum of 2 harmonies because there's 2 different team comps you need to actually comfortably, or just to clear the end game at all, matter of fact, whether it's comfortably or not. Now, I'm going to be playing for casters, which is why I'm personally skipping 3.1, but with casters, right, there's no sub DPS to put on the team like with Jade or anything like that. So what I want to do, I could pull for Tribi, right? Or I can build a character that I already have, Remembrance Trailblazer. That way I don't need to pull for another Harmony unit, and I can still save a ton of Stellar Jades. So in the end, I have 2 meta-defining DPS units. I have 2 Harmony units, whether they're old or not. I have Aventurine, Gallagher, and that's it. The rest of the characters, it'll be maybe, for example, an Erudition sub DPS for the Herda. Jade would be great for that, but you honestly don't need Jade. You can use any other Erudition like Himeko, like 4-star Herda, although it won't be as effective, right? Acheron, honestly, I'll say this right now, and I can see this from a mile away. Acheron, when she came out, was bait. A lot of people say, and now I'm going to get sidetracked, but that's okay because it still ties into the general point of what I'm trying to convey here. I think Acheron was complete bait, and yes, this is on Hoyo's part partially, but Acheron, the fact that free-to-play players tried to get Acheron's light cone and her E2, while also trying to get another Nihility, Acheron was very obviously bait from the start, which is why I pulled her once, just because she's an XP of Random May from Honkai Impact, and I stopped there. I did not want to go for her past that point at all, because I knew she was bait. And that's another thing that you actually have to recognize when it comes to characters is it worth it? If you're thinking about pulling for a character, is it worth it? If there's a voice telling you in your head not to pull for them, it's probably not worth it. The top tier DPSs are always going to be worth it, but at the same time, you also need characters to actually support them. You need a perfect balance of everything. 2 harmonies that will still support your characters to this day and age, 2 meta-defining units, ideally Aventurine, and anything else that's miscellaneous, for example Jade with Herda, and you're good to go. There's not much else to say right here. I have Fei Xiao E0S1 on my account. I have never used Fei Xiao in the endgame before. Before I got Herda, I was running Firefly and Jingliu and still 36 starring and 12 starring everything, because I know who to pull for. But that's about it for this video. Like I said, if you're up to date with the endgame, then you can start to pull for the fun characters like Mighty, Boothill, Silverwolf even. But if you're pulling for a character like Silverwolf when you already can't clear the endgame, Silverwolf is not gonna, like, as adorable as she is, she's not gonna help you in any way. Neither is Dr. Ratio's Light Cone, even if you have him built already. You think he's your best DPS, but you pull 1 copy of Casterus and you realize how much worse your Dr. Ratio is. And I'm sorry to all Dr. Ratio mains, but it's just the truth. Unless you have him in a crazy speed-tuned team comp, which chances are you probably don't. But like I said, that's about it. I've said my point enough times. I'll see you. Goodbye.